Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. Tomorrow is July 23rd, 2026. 1 year ago is when the highly sealed case of Idaho versus Kohberger was closed the day of sentencing. However, the case remained sealed to the public on that day. And 1 year later, but for a few documents from January through July of 2025 that have been unsealed, many with redactions, this case still remains as sealed to the public largely as when it was in active pretrial. Change of plea took many by surprise. Change of plea meant that there would not be a jury trial scheduled to occur in August. Jury trial was canceled the day of change of plea. And with it, many felt the opportunity to finally learn why the state of Idaho felt that it was Mr. Kohberger and Mr. Kohberger alone who was responsible for the catastrophic events at 1122 King Road would not be known, because there would not be the requirement that the state of Idaho go into an open court, bring forward their evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that there was no alternative perpetrator, no accessory before the fact, after the fact co-conspirator, that Mr. Kohberger and only he committed the crimes at 1122 King Road. We have looked at the final days of the case to see if there could be any clues there to explain why Mr. Kohberger might have been induced to change plea. According to the case summary page, on June 26, 2025, Judge Hippler denied two key defense motions. The first was the defense motion to adjourn the trial date in light of massive pretrial publicity that had occurred at about the time of the final pretrial conference in May and was continuing to occur, that the defense felt might poison the minds of potential jury members. The second motion that was denied that date, June 26th, was alternate perpetrators. Mr. Kohberger would not be able to raise the defense of an alternate perpetrator with that order, where Judge Hippler found that the suspect or suspects did not walk to the crime scene. It appears that that was a jury question because it was a matter that was disputed between the parties. Then, the next day, June 27th, the sheriff returned a subpoena unserved. The defense was seeking to serve upon Tim DeWolf, a friend of Ethan's at the Sigma Chi fraternity. The return of service said that he was not at the location the defense thought he might be found. Would there be enough time to locate him and serve him with that subpoena before trial? Then, also on the 27th, it appears that the defense was full blast preparing for trial because there was a second notice of filing the defendant's additional objections to the jury questionnaire. The jury questionnaire would be used in the process of jury selection to attempt to locate jurors to sit on the panel who would make the determination if Mr. Kohberger was not guilty or guilty, and if there was a finding of guilt, then going into the sentencing phase to see what the proper sentence should be, including the DPI. Mr. Kohberger changed plea days later on July 2nd. And there are so many questions that remain unanswered because of the highly secretive nature of this case when it was proceeding. There were multiple hearings that were held behind closed doors, including alternate perpetrators, on top of a gag order that was in place from the fourth day of the case, entered after both sides went to the judge and asked for that gag order, that was not set aside until after change of plea, on the media coalition's motion, not by the motion of either side, but by the media who asked that that gag order be set aside. Judge Hippler granted that motion, but he did not grant the second motion that the media filed, pointing out that now that Mr. Kohberger had changed his plea to guilty, and being that there would not be a jury trial anymore, that the media felt there was no need to continue to seal the case, because the number one reason given in most of the motions to seal, none of which had ever been denied by any court, was that documents needed to be sealed from the public to preserve Mr. Kohberger's right to a fair trial. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you very much for joining us here today.